Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful afternoon. We are going to be talking about our hormones, so it's going to be a very good use of your time. Thank you again for joining me. I am Stephanie Thomas, and I will be taking you through a really great talk this afternoon about balancing our hormones naturally. So make sure that you tune in and you get lots of really good information. Try to minimize those distractions if you can. I'm going to be talking to you for about an hour. I have lots of stuff to go over with you. So I want to get through as much as I can and really hope that you guys get the best information and the most out of your time here with me today. So I am the Wellness Director of the Institute for Peak Health. The Institute for Peak Health is actually located in San Antonio, Texas. We actually take care of people from all over the United States, though. So if you happen to be in the San Antonio area, you can always stop by and say hello in person. We do have also a naturopath on staff, Dr. Kat Eichmann, and then Valerie is actually on our chat right now. So anything that pops up, please feel free to use your chat box and have a little conversation with Valerie. So we were founded by Dr. Bernice Gonzalez, who founded Vitalife Wellness Center in San Antonio. And basically, what we do here at the Institute for Peak Health is we help people achieve their health goals. So we work a little bit outside of the current healthcare system, which is very much focused on disease management and symptom control. And what we do is we work together to help people actually achieve good health. So we'll talk a little bit about that and what our foundation is. Our philosophy, our founding part of our mission is to work with people using functional medicine. So we'll talk a little bit about that too. Functional medicine is basically where we seek to find the root issue. We seek to find the root of the problem that's going on instead of just figuring out what symptoms you have and giving you a band-aid for those symptoms. So if you've got, say, high blood pressure, we're going to want to know why and what are things we can do to correct the problem as opposed to just automatically giving you a pill. Or since we're here to talk about hormones, we might, if you are suddenly having hot sweats and hot flashes and you are maybe having trouble sleeping at night, we're not automatically going to say, oh, well, here's a prescription for Ambien. We are going to find out why, what are causing those issues, and what can we do to help your body make that transition in a better way. So I always like to sprinkle in stories too as we go through the content and just give you guys an idea of all the different things that we do here. So definitely we work a lot in hormones. We work a lot in just about anything. So we have people that we work with that have chronic disease like heart disease or diabetes, people that have IBS. We've got lots and lots of digestive issues in this country. So we work with people on that as well. And one of the main things, though, is that when we have other issues like that going on, it really throws off our body's chemistry. And if you hear me say chemistry a few times throughout the webinar, that basically means your hormones. Of course, you've got lots more hormones than just your estrogen and testosterone. There's other hormones too that really control a lot about how your body behaves and how you feel. So we'll talk about those things today as well. So again, I want to really try and get through the information, give you as much as I possibly can. I'll have about an hour to spend with you. It's not enough time to tell you everything that I do think that you need to know, but I'm going to try and I'll do my best. So try and eliminate distractions if you can so that you can put your full focus and attention here and really get the most out of the material. I'll also let you know that we are going to give you all a special offer for tuning in. We are actually giving a free 15-minute discovery call to you all. so that you can learn what it takes to start your journey towards optimized health. So you can actually schedule a free 15-minute discovery call with me, so that we can go over your health concerns and we can talk about what we can do to help you reach your health goals. So I'm actually going to make that offer available to you right now. So you'll see it in your sidebar. You'll see a sign up now button. At any point, feel free to click that and schedule the date and time that works best for you to do that phone call with me. At the end of the talk today, I'll talk a little bit more about the discovery call, but I just want to make that available in case anyone is just on a shorter lunch break. And I'll also mention, if maybe you can't watch the whole one with me today, we will be sending you a recorded version. So what we're also going to send you in your email, the recorded version, is our bonus Institute for Peak Health Immune Hacks Guide. So just lots of great timely information on simple things you can do as an individual to really boost your health and your immune system. So that is our free gift to you, also for tuning in today. So we're going to talk about America's healthcare crisis. We are going to talk about hormones, and most importantly, we're going to talk about what it's going to take to influence your health, to improve your health, to reach your health goals naturally. So how many of you guys would agree that we are in a healthcare crisis? How many of you all would agree that we were in a healthcare crisis even long before COVID-19 came around? I think many of you can appreciate that. We look around, we see lots of nursing homes, we see hospitals coming up on every corner. That's certainly how it is here in San Antonio. Now we're getting, all of those freestanding emergency rooms. There's urgent care clinics. I mean, all of these things are popping up everywhere. It is no secret that our population as a whole is unhealthy. Like I said, regardless of COVID-19, before COVID-19 came around, we have staggering rates in this country of things like heart disease, diabetes, cancer, autoimmune disease, many, many things. And it's pretty normal as we get older for us to start accumulating all these prescription pill bottles, as you see in the picture there. It's kind of the norm. Where we begin to think that the older we get, the more medications we get on. But the truth is, we take these medications to cover up a symptom. These medications that we take day after day after day for the long term are the vast majority of the time just controlling or managing a symptom, but not really curing the underlying problem, not curing the disease. We actually don't have a lot of cures. We don't talk a lot about cures in our healthcare system in America. So we're going to talk about that today, and why it is so important that we really dig down and get to those underlying causes so that we can get health, we can be healthy, and we can go on to whatever that destination in our life might be. Maybe your destination in life is to be able to get down on your hands and knees and continue to play Legos with your grandkids. Or maybe you want to grow old with your spouse, but feel confident, feel energetic, feel vibrant, be able to travel with them, be able to have a good, fun relationship with them. Maybe you want to be able to literally travel and go to places like Italy or hike in the mountains of Colorado, and you don't want to have to worry about knee pain or not being able to sleep or feeling super tired all the time, or not having the energy to go, or lugging a big sack of prescription drugs along with you. So that's really what we're going to talk about. And I kind of want to give you an idea too about chronic disease in the United States. And sometimes we think of chronic diseases and we think of diabetes and things like that. But, chronic disease affects so many of us. Mr. Richmond has his story. He had chronic disease. His was manifested as allergies. So a lot of times we don't think of allergies as really being chronic disease, but let me tell you how it affected his life. So when he came to see me, He actually had tons of allergies, had always had them, seemed like his whole life. He was actually on a prescription antihistamine, a pretty heavy duty one, for about 20 years. And it didn't take his symptoms away, just kind of turned them down a bit so that they weren't so bad, but he still was always suffering from things like watery eyes and sneezing and those kinds of things. Well, what really turned things around for him was when he developed a rash. He actually developed a rash pretty much from the neck down. His whole body was very, very red, very, very itchy, very, very aggravating. And so he went to his primary and they gave him a topical cream to use, which didn't really work. So they went ahead and referred him to the dermatologist. And the dermatologist did basically the same. They gave him another cream, but then they also gave him a steroid. And they said, take this steroid for 7 days. It should calm it down. And then, continue to use the cream as needed. So that's what he did. And the steroid did kind of turn the rash down in intensity a little bit, but it didn't resolve the rash. And again, they were expecting him to put this cream kind of all over his body to also kind of calm the rash down, but nothing that had been done had actually taken the rash away. So he was in this mess where he was itchy when he would go outside or he would sweat. It would get much worse. It was very hard to sleep at night. So he was taking the steroid. It kind of turned it down a little, but didn't completely get rid of the issue. So he came to see me. And by the time he came to see me, he was actually taking he had taken multiple rounds of steroids. And by the time he came to see me, he was actually taking steroids every single day. And this rash was still going on and had been going on for about 6 to 8 months. So when I started talking to him, I did what I do best, what we do in functional medicine. We dig down to find the root of those issues. So I knew he had a long history of allergies, but we talked a little bit more about other symptoms and other things he had going on. And it turns out he had a lot of issues in his digestive tract with his microbiome. Some of you may have heard that lingo before, but basically the bacteria and yeast and things that live naturally in the intestines were majorly out of balance for him. And so we started to work on those things and we started to help his immune system. His allergies are basically your body, your immune system overreacting to things in the environment. So we started to work on those things and he started to get better. I should also mention that because he was taking the steroid every single day, he was having a lot of side effects from the steroids. So steroids can make us have trouble sleeping at night, can make us very irritable, can also make us gain weight. And he was suffering from all of those things. It was really starting to affect his chemistry, his hormone balance. So we were able to work with him, get to some of those root issues, and he came off the steroid. He came off his allergy medicine that he had actually been on for 20 years. He lost about 25 pounds. The rash completely went away. The rash we had gone in a couple of weeks, completely gone. And by the time we were finished, after we worked with him for a couple of months, he wrote us this nice testimonial, and you see it there for yourselves. He said that he had no more watery eyes, no more sneezing. He had almost completely what it was like to not have allergies. And he was able to come off even that medication he had been on for 20 years. So he lost a bunch of weight. I actually followed up with him a couple of weeks ago, and he's continuing to do really well. No signs of rash, no signs of allergy problems, still off of all of his medications. He actually weighs now what he weighed in high school. So he's out, he's exercising, he's feeling great, he's enjoying his family, and he's not having trouble sleeping and having all of those issues that went on with the medications that he was taking. So just a powerful kind of testimony talking about, what does chronic disease look like for different people, but also a testament to the fact that our bodies can heal. Our bodies can heal. We don't have to keep bandaging them up with these remedies that don't really solve the problem. There are things we can do to get things back under control. So we've got to circle back a little bit to COVID-19. We can't talk about America's healthcare crisis. We can't talk about the immune system. We can't talk about any of those things unless we also talk about COVID-19. So I'm not here to spread more gloom and doom about it, but I am here to just put the facts out there and say, well, what did we learn? What have we learned so far about COVID-19? We have learned that people who have chronic illness are more susceptible to COVID-19. They're more susceptible to having a bad outcome or having severe illness from COVID-19. So it was no secret that in America, we were already generally unhealthy. There's a couple of studies that came out in the last few years that really describe that, population studies that really describe the overall health of Americans. One was done by the CDC and the Mayo Clinic, and it said that 90% of American adults are either overweight, chronically ill, or not doing any or most of the basic habits required for good health. So when COVID-19 came into the picture and we started seeing people suffer from severe illness and even death, what we have found time after time after time when these cases are studied is that 90% of all COVID hospitalizations and 94% of all COVID deaths actually occurred in those with at least one chronic disease. So it came through, this virus came around, and it really, really put people who have chronic disease in a bad place. And so I'm here to tell you guys that there's so much we can do with chronic disease. We can do things to make ourselves better. We don't have to stay just in this, chronic disease management. There are things we can do to help our body heal, and in turn is going to make us healthier. It's going to make us less susceptible to the viruses and things that go around. So America's healthcare crisis, a big takeaway is we've got unacceptable costs and unacceptable outcomes. So in the United States, we spend at least $3.5 trillion a year on healthcare. And 90% of those dollars is actually on chronic disease. It's managing chronic disease. It's not curing disease. It's not making people healthier or making people well. 90% of those dollars is just spent on managing chronic disease. The problem with that is we are nowhere near the healthiest country. So we spend all this money, we spend way more money on our healthcare than any other country in the world, at least double the amount of any other country. And we are ranked anywhere between 30th and 50th healthiest country. So we're spending all this money, we're managing all these chronic diseases, we don't have a lot of cures, and we're not any healthier. So it's unacceptable costs and really unacceptable outcomes. 70% of all the deaths in the United States are still caused by the top 5 chronic diseases. So we're not spending money to get healthier. That's where the problem is. We are just managing the chronic disease when there's so much more that we could do for it. So part of it is just the way the healthcare system works. So I've personally been in the healthcare system for 20 years. I've been in this field for 20 years. So the first half of my career, I did what I call traditional medicine, which is kind of the basic thing. You see a patient, you've got about 5 minutes, you figure out what symptom they have, and then you write a prescription. You order a procedure, you order a lab, or you order a prescription for them. And that's about it. So basically the whole way of thinking is putting you in this little box. So when you go in to see your healthcare provider and you've got a symptom, they've got to label you. They've got to put that ICD-10 code on you. They've got to put you in that box so that they know, then what we use for those issues, right? Why does it work that way? Well, because that's how insurance pays. That's how your provider gets paid, based on the diagnosis code. So you've got to have a diagnosis, and then you've got to have basically a list of things that you can do for that diagnosis code. So the first thought is always going to be, what box do they fit in? And the second thought is, what drugs do we write the prescription for? And pharmaceutical companies actually spend billions of dollars a year to make us continue to think that way, to make us to continue to think that this is normal and that's how it works. But basically what it means is that if you've got thyroid issues, if you've got diabetes, autoimmune disease, or you've got hormone imbalance, think insomnia, think fatigue, those are prescriptions for life. Those are things like Ambien to sleep every night, or Nuvigil because you're so tired during the day, or maybe a Wellbutrin or Lexapro because you don't feel good and you're tired and you have low energy. It basically boils down to prescriptions for life. Why does it work that way? That's how money is made. That is how money is made in our healthcare system. So this point was actually illustrated really well by an article in Forbes, and you guys can probably look it up and read it for yourselves, but I'll summarize it. There was an article written in Forbes, and it was written by an investment advisor, and he was talking about our healthcare system, and he was talking about how it works and how coming up with a cure is a bad business idea, that coming up with a cure is a poor business decision on behalf of the pharmaceutical companies. So he went on to talk about the cure that came out for hepatitis C. So there was a pharmaceutical company that came out with a cure for hepatitis C. I remember when that happened. As a healthcare provider, I was excited. Great. We don't see a lot of cures. So it was wonderful. Well, he went on to argue that that was a really bad idea because the pharmaceutical companies have to spend millions of dollars on research. They've got to get all these clinical trials done. They've got to get the medication passed through the FDA, approved by the FDA. They've got to get it patented so that then they can have the proprietary formula for it and they can sell it and they can start to make their money back. So if you go and you cure all the people with hepatitis C, then those people aren't going to need your drug anymore. And even worse, per the investment advisor, if you cure everyone that has hepatitis C, then they're not going to spread it to other people, and there's not going to be other people that need your drug. So you're going to eventually wipe hepatitis C completely out. And then you're not going to be able to make money off that drug anymore. So he was saying terrible business idea. Then he went on to talk about another drug company who actually came up with a cure for a very rare eye disease. And this is an eye disease that could cause blindness, but it's very rare. It doesn't affect a lot of people. And so, but nevertheless, it was a cure. So they spent all the millions of dollars getting it through the FDA, getting it studied, getting it approved, patented, all of those things. And then when it came to market, there were so few people that needed it because it was a rare eye condition. They had to mark the price up high so that they could start to get a return on their investment. And then the insurance companies pushed back. They didn't want to pay for it. So the drug company then had a lot of trouble getting it to the people they needed. They weren't making their money off of it like they had expected to. And so they ended up giving up on the drug. They stopped making the drug and it went out of production. So again, all of this was detailed in a Forbes article written by an investment advisor saying how it does not pay for, in our current system, the way our current system is set up in healthcare, that it doesn't pay for cures. So I think definitely that is a huge part of why we are in this healthcare crisis. If you can have high blood pressure and you can have cancer and you can have diabetes and you can have even HIV, for the chronic long term, meaning they can keep you alive. They can just kind of, calm the system down a little bit, calm the disease progression down a little bit, and just maintain you for a long period of time on multiple medications, then that's how they're going to make their money. So that is a huge, huge thing about the healthcare crisis and why we're in this situation here in the United States. So like I said, I don't want to spread a lot of gloom and doom, but I want you guys to know, I want you to be empowered to know that maybe we can eliminate our exposure, right? Maybe we can't completely wall ourselves off from COVID-19 or from, all of these other diseases and cancers and things that are in our society. But there's a lot that we can do to make ourselves healthier. There's a lot we can do to make ourselves more resilient. There's a lot we can do to get off of that path that the CDC and the Mayo Clinic says 90% of us are going. They are saying 90% of us are unhealthy, are going to be chronically ill, are going to be overweight. And there is a whole other way that we could go. How do we get there? Be proactive, get the right information, just like you guys are doing today, taking time out of your day to tune into a webinar to get more information. Those are wonderful, wonderful things you can do today, right now, for your health. You can eliminate risk factors. You know, if there's certain things that you're at risk for genetically, there are things you can do in your, maybe in your lifestyle or in your diet, that can drastically reduce your risk. I mean, even just think about smoking. Smoking is a huge risk factor for many, many cancers. So if you stop smoking, you've eliminated a risk factor. Of course, there's so many other things that are risk factors for different conditions. So finding out those kinds of things that you can do is really going to pay off for you in the long term. Find that underlying cause. What is driving the problem? Why is the body behaving in that way? What can we do to fix it? We can do things to boost our immune system. Yes, every day you and I can do basic things that helps our immune system to function better. One of the things is sleeping. So it's known medical knowledge that if you sleep at least 7 hours a night, you have a reduced risk for contracting respiratory viral illnesses. So things like that you can do to really boost your immune system. Minimize stress. That's probably one of the most important things you can do if you have hormones that are out of balance. And then, of course, just take action. Get the information, get the right tools, and put it into action. Those are going to be the big takeaways on things that you can do for your health for the long term, and what you can do to reach that destination in your life, like I mentioned, whatever it might be, playing Legos on the floor with the grandkids, whatever it might be. So I mentioned how I've been in the healthcare field for 20 years. The first half of that, I worked in the traditional healthcare system, the healthcare system we're probably all, you all are probably very used to. But I found I wasn't really helping people. I found that all I really seemed like I was doing was spending 5 minutes with a person to figure out what diagnosis they had and giving them a prescription, not really helping them get better, not really helping them with their health. And it really burned me out. I knew that there was more that these people could do. I knew that there was more I could help them with that would really pay off for them, for their health for the long term, but there simply was just no time. And quite honestly, the healthcare system isn't really set up for that style of care. So I spent the second half of my career, the last 10 years, in functional medicine. So functional medicine, I had to go back to school, spend more time and more money learning about functional medicine and what it really takes for the body to be healthy, and what things we can do to really improve the health of people, not just manage disease. And if I had to sum up in functional medicine, the basic things that we do when we're trying to achieve health, regardless of what your health concern is, whether it's fibromyalgia, whether it's insomnia, whether it's diabetes, whether it's chronic allergies and rashes like Mr. Richmond had, whether it's IBS, whatever it is, we focus on these 5 pillars. These are the 5 pillars your body has to have intact in order for your health to improve and continue to improve for the long term. So we'll talk a little bit more about those in detail, but these are the 5 things that every human needs to be healthy. So anyone who's just tuning in, thank you for joining. A quick summary of what we're going over. Right now we're talking about America's healthcare crisis. We're going to talk about the underlying cause that no one is talking about for your hormonal and your chemistry issues in your body. And then, of course, we're going to talk about how to take action to protect your health naturally. We are also doing a special offer, which is for you all to receive a free 15-minute phone call with me to talk about your health concerns and what exactly it will take to get you started on your journey to optimize your health. So we'll talk a little bit more about that at the very end of the presentation, but we do have the offer available now. You have the button, the sign up now button there on your screen. You can feel free to click that at any time and book the time that works best for you so we can talk about your health concerns. So I really want to be here to maybe change the way that we think about our health and change the way we manage our health. So I'm going to give you an analogy of the check engine light. So if you get in your car in the morning, you're headed to work and your check engine light comes on, you're probably going to go to the mechanic, right? So you say you go to the mechanic and all he does is turn off the light and charge you the money and send you on your way. Probably what's going to happen again, right, is the check engine light's going to come back on. So say the next day you get in your car, the check engine light comes on again. You go back to the mechanic, he just turns off the light, charges a fee, sends you on your way. The next day you get in your car, you turn on the car, the check engine light comes on, you go back to the mechanic, he turns off the light, charges you, sends you on your way. At some point, we are not gonna accept that as the answer, right? At some point, we're gonna say, hey, why is the light turning on? Can you fix the reason the light is turning on? Don't just turn the light off, but fix the problem, right? We need to think about our health in the same way. So when we have a symptom or we have a problem, we need to ask why. Why is that symptom there? What is causing that? What is causing the body to not perform in the way that it is supposed to? So let's say you've got high blood pressure. And so that's your check engine light, your high blood pressure. So you go in to your healthcare provider, they check your blood pressure, it's high, they write you a prescription, you take your pill, the blood pressure goes down, right? But what happens the next day if you don't take the pill? The pressure's right back up, right? The check engine light comes right back on. So you take your pill, it goes back down. As soon as you don't take it, it comes right back. Why? It's because we're dealing with the symptom. We're not actually dealing with the underlying driving factor, the thing that's actually causing the blood pressure to go up. So if we continue to function in that way, at some point, we're going to have a big problem, right? Because we're essentially ignoring that check engine light. We're ignoring that symptom. We're just turning it down. And as long as you take that pill, it'll keep it here, but we didn't fix the problem. So we're going to continue to have problems as we go, just like you would in your car. If you keep ignoring the problem, eventually you're going to get in there and you're going to have multiple issues going on, right? So that's the way that I want us to start thinking about our health. Think of it as a symptom that your body's trying to tell you something. There's something not working right. So we need to fix the problem, not just cover it up with a Band-Aid. So what else drives America's healthcare crisis? Well, unfortunately, the insurance company drives it as well. So, you know, this right here comes straight from Medicare, their coverage guidelines. Care that seeks to prevent disease, promote health, and prolong and enhance the quality of life is not considered medically necessary. So in insurance lingo, not medically necessary means it's not covered. So we also have to think about our healthcare system from a different point of view. And a lot of us think we've got insurance, our insurance is going to take care of our health, and that's that, and we don't have to worry about it. But the truth is, insurance kicks in when there's a problem, right? So they're telling you right here, they're not interested in covering things that prevent disease, that promote health, or that prolong and enhance your quality of life. They pay for managing disease. So great if you get into a car accident and you need a life-saving surgery, you need the trauma helicopter to come pick you up and take you to the trauma room. Insurance will likely cover that, right? Because it's a crisis. If you've got diabetes and you're going to be on diabetic medications, 3, 4, 5 medications to keep your blood sugar down, hey, that's chronic disease management. It doesn't cover being healthy and staying healthy. And it's really just like any other insurance, right? When you think about your car insurance, when does your car insurance kick in? When there's a catastrophe, right? When there's a wreck, when there's a problem. But car insurance doesn't cover things like brake fluid and new tires and oil changes. It doesn't cover things that makes your car run well or makes your car healthy. Your home insurance is the same. It doesn't cover for your AC filters and those kinds of things. It covers when there's a big hailstorm or something like that. So we have to think about our health insurance in the same way. It is there for the big problem. It is there to manage the disease process. It's part of the system, but it's not really there to help you get healthier. So at the end of the day, it comes down to us. It comes down to us, and we have to decide which route we are going to take. Are we going to follow the same path that the CDC and the Mayo Clinic says that 90% of us are going, where we're going to be chronically ill, we're going to be overweight, we're going to be not taking care of ourselves, or are we going to take it upon ourselves to get off of that path and follow a different path that's going to help us achieve good health and longevity? So these pictures here are of two gentlemen that are about the same age. The gentleman in red you might recognize is Jack LaLanne, and in this picture he's in his 80s. He's in his 80s, you guys, but unfortunately it's become the norm for us to think of 80s as being sick and frail, like the other gentleman in the other photo. But Jack LaLanne is testament, is proof to the fact that your body can get healthy and your body can be healthy in old age. So age is not an excuse. We can improve our health at any age, at any stage of the game, no matter where you're at, no matter what you might have going on. There are still things you can always do to improve your health. It just comes down to you making the decision to do that. So I'm going to talk about another story. I'm going to mix another really good story into the webinar today. This one's more about hormones. So this is Miss Carranza. So she actually has been a patient of mine for a very long time. And when she first came to me, she looked much like the before picture you see there on the bottom. Overweight. She was very depressed. She had horrible autoimmune thyroid problem. She had a lot of hair loss. She had trouble sleeping. She had many, many things going on. But basically, her issue was she had this autoimmune thyroid problem that wasn't diagnosed right away. It took years to get the right diagnosis. And in the meantime, she was being medicated for symptoms. She was given an antidepressant, and she was given, a slew of different things, just to cover up or to treat the symptoms she was having. So she has actually been my patient for many years, and we worked with her. We actually have completely reversed her autoimmune thyroid. She no longer has detectable antibodies in her blood. Her thyroid ultrasound is normal. It appears normal. It does not look like a thyroiditis like it used to. Among many other things that she had going on, has completely resolved. And as you can see her there in the top picture, she looks completely transformed, and she really is transformed. Her entire life has changed. It actually changed so much that she wrote a book. That is her book, The Golden Butterfly. She's working on her second book now, but in that book, she talks about her struggles and the years and years and years of going through all of these symptoms and all these problems and being medicated for this and medicated for that and having side effects and not getting better, and really going down this path at one point where she was even suicidal. So she talks about that in her book. She also talks about the day when I first met with her, and what we did for her. So just an amazing transformation. Her life literally completely changed, and it actually set the stage for her whole mission, her whole purpose in life, because she went through those hard, tough times, and she achieved healing. She achieved good health, and now she feels the best that she ever has. And it really set her purpose in life to help educate others. So she's writing books, and she's out there, she's doing public speaking, and she's really doing great. Most importantly, though, she's enjoying her family, she's enjoying her community, and she feels good. She feels healthy, she feels strong. Nothing holds her back anymore. So just a wonderful testament again to the amazing healing powers that your body actually has. So we talk about purpose, we talk about why. I've got my own, of course. So these are just some of my whys. But I would have to tell you my biggest why is my own personal story as well. So I was sick too. At the age of 18, I started down this path in the healthcare system where I started accumulating medications to cover up different symptoms, and it really got me in a huge mess. And what turned it around for me was thankfully finding someone that knew functional medicine and that had the philosophy of functional medicine and was able to really help me get to my root issues and turn them around. So I also lived through many years of struggle. When I was 18 years old, I started having acid reflux. Seems pretty harmless, right? I started taking some over the counter medicines. They didn't really work so well. So I went to the doctor and they prescribed me a medicine like Nexium. So I started taking that, and hey, it took the reflux away. I went and did my follow up, and I explained as long as I take this pill, I don't have the reflux symptoms, but if I miss it, they come right back. So I was told, okay, we'll just take the pill, keep taking it, and I was given refills for a year. Then I went and did my follow up. Great, as long as you're fine, here's another year of refills. So I was basically refilled that medicine year after year after year starting at the age of 18. I was also on birth control, like many college age students are. Um, and that's kind of how I was going. So for a few years, everything seemed okay. But then I got to the point where if I missed my medicine, if I missed that reflux medicine, I actually developed such a severe gastritis that I would have vomiting that was uncontrollable that actually took me into the emergency room. So I went to the emergency room, I would get an IV, they would do ultrasound, CT scan, can't find anything wrong, give me nausea through the IV, nausea medicine through the IV, did not work. But when they gave me Protonix, which is a reflux medicine basically, through the IV, my symptoms were gone in 20 minutes. So again, I go to the ER. They don't find anything wrong. They give me the reflux med. I feel better. Okay, good. Well, just make sure you don't stop taking your reflux med, just keep taking it. But no real answer as to why this was going on. And of course, I also got a $3,000 or $4,000 bill. So because I couldn't afford to keep paying $3,000 or $4,000 bills, I continued taking the medicine. I did go and see the GI doctor, got my endoscopy. Nothing was found. Just keep taking the reflux medicine. So I did. Well, that was a check engine light, guys, and I ignored it. So then I started, as time went on, to get more check engine lights. So then I started to develop terrible, terrible fatigue. I was in my 20s, my mid to late 20s, and I was struggling every single day to get out of bed. I was clawing myself out of bed every day. I was actually starting to feel depressed. I was so tired that all I wanted to do was stay in bed and sleep. And no matter how much I slept, I still had no energy. So every single day was a chore. It was a chore just to get up, a chore just to get ready, just to shower, wash my hair, get through school, get through work. It was such a challenge for me to do that I did not have anything left in me to hang out with my friends or even talk to my family. I was really just kind of becoming a hermit, just going through my day, getting back home and going right back to bed. I had no big aspirations for the future. I just felt like every day was the same. It was depressing. So I went to see the doctor because I was concerned about myself. I was concerned that this fatigue was so overwhelming. There had to have been something majorly wrong with me. And they said, oh, well, you're under a lot of stress. So, and you have all those symptoms of depression. So here's a prescription for an antidepressant. So I took it every day. Nothing changed. I continued to be extremely fatigued. Nothing improved whatsoever. So I went back and I followed up and I was told, wow, you must be really depressed. Here is a second antidepressant. I want you to take both of them together. So now I'm on my reflux medicine, my birth control, 2 antidepressants, and I am not getting better. In fact, I'm getting worse. And keep in mind, at this point, I'm in my late 20s. I should be having the time of my life. I should be energetic. I should be enjoying traveling and doing all the things that young adults do. And I couldn't. I literally felt like I was 70 or 80-year-old woman. Um, so I went back, I followed up again. I was continuing to have more symptoms, things that were unusual, feeling anxiety, feeling like I couldn't sleep well at night, even though I was super exhausted. I went back to the doctor, and this time their answer was to write an anti-anxiety medicine. Well, I was in school to be a prescriber, so I knew what that medicine was. I knew what it could do for me, and I knew that there's no way I could take a medicine that would, you know, more than likely make my fatigue worse. I was supposed to take this anxiety medicine 3 times a day. And as it was without it, I could barely get out of bed and function. I barely had enough energy to just complete my daily tasks. So I knew that if I would start that anxiety medicine, I would probably end up having to drop out of school, not be able to work anymore. So I knew it was not a good answer. So I went and I found a second opinion. By this point, I had gained 40 pounds. Again, I was super depressed. I had actually was gotten married and I ended up getting a divorce because I could not take care of myself. I certainly couldn't take care of a relationship. And I was just in a very bad place and I was continuing to see myself spiral out of control. So I went and got a second opinion. And luckily, who I went to see knew something about functional medicine. And while my main concern was being super fatigued, being 40 pounds overweight, being on all these medications that were not helping me, like I said, literally every day was a struggle, was a chore. I couldn't even look forward to anything. I couldn't look forward to graduating or traveling, or I didn't do anything at all. Those were my concerns. Her concern was that I was still taking that reflux medicine because by this point I had been taking it for 12 years. So it was explained to me that number one, those medications shouldn't be taken that long. Number two, they had never been studied to be taken that long. And number three, that they don't allow you to absorb the nutrients from your food. So I needed to go get a bone density test. So at the age of 30, I went and got a bone density test, and I was this close from having full blown osteoporosis. So I went back and I followed up, and I was told, you need to get off that reflux medicine. You are malnourished. And if you don't believe me, here's a picture of your bones to prove it. You need to come off that medication. I was also taken off of my birth control because we found that I had a genetic predisposition for blood clotting. So I had to come off of that. And guess what? I started to feel better. We changed my diet and I was able to come off the reflux medicine in a period of 2 months without any trips to the ER. I was starting to do better. We came off of the hormonal birth control and I started to feel a little better. So after that, after a couple of months of doing those things, I felt a little better, but I was still tired and I was still 40 pounds overweight. So I went back to my doctor. We did another test on my cortisol, on my adrenal hormones, and it was terrible. It was very, very low. So again, we worked on some interventions with that. We worked on some lifestyle things. We worked on getting replace some of those nutrients, getting those hormones back into balance. And in 5 months, I was able to come off every single medication and I lost the 40 pounds. Most importantly, at the end of those 5 months, I felt better. I felt like a young, vibrant girl. I felt like the girl that I remembered being 12 years before all of this mess started. So, the biggest thing is that functional medicine, I believe, saved my life. I definitely don't think I would be here. I definitely wouldn't be here talking to you in this webinar today if I hadn't gone through that. It helped me find my purpose. It helped me see that I need to also show people that there is another way. So when we feel hopeless, we feel helpless, we feel tired, we feel like there is no help out there, there is help. I am living proof that there is help. And this is where we are today. So yes, I had some kids. Since all of those health concerns and those health issues and all those symptoms resolved, I went on, got married, had kids. Yes, I had them a little later in life, so I've got to keep going. You guys know how energetic children are, so I've got to still be on my toes. So also importantly is I have to practice what I teach so that my kids can be healthy and we can continue to our families watch what we do, our kids watch what we do, and if we set that good example, they learn from us, and that in turn gives them good health too. So today, let's go over those check engine light, guys. What are those check engine lights that we are going to be getting when our hormones are out of balance? Well, maybe you're feeling tired, sluggish, fatigued. Maybe you're having bowel problems. Yes. Did you know that your hormones can influence your bowels? Absolutely. What about depression? I've been there. Yes, absolutely. It was not even a true depression. It was my hormone imbalance. That's why the antidepressant medications did not work for me. Yes, I started to have anxiety too, which was absolutely abnormal for me. I remember that, being pretty much a lifelong student at that point, and then suddenly I would have trouble getting up in front of the class to speak, or if I got called on to answer a question, I started to develop anxiety, very unlike me. Well, guess what? I had hormone imbalance. Sleep disturbances, insomnia. Maybe you have trouble falling asleep. Maybe you're so exhausted all day, you go lay down and then you hit the pillow and you're wide awake and your mind's just racing. Or maybe you fall asleep and then you're waking up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Those are all check engine lights. Yes, the weight gain, absolutely. You start gaining weight and then you have a lot of trouble getting that weight off. Mood swings, feeling emotional, not really feeling yourself. Maybe you're irritable and snappy with your family. All of those things are check engine lights. And the number one underlying cause of hormone imbalance that no one is talking about is stress. So stress, when we say stress, I'm not only talking about relationship stress or work stress or economic stress. I'm talking about all the many stressors that we can have on our body. We can have physical stressors, we can have injuries, we can have inflammation, we can have, problems, illnesses, diabetes, things like that can actually cause inflammation in our body that is considered a physical stressor. Chemical stressors, now more than ever. In the last 5 years, the evidence pertaining to the chemicals in our environment and how they affect our hormones has doubled in the last 5 years. We have scientific evidence that has doubled in the last 5 years regarding the chemicals in our environment and how it affects our hormones and our endocrine system. So things like air pollution, the American Heart Association actually lists air pollution as one of the non-modifiable risk factors for heart disease. What about chemicals in our foods? We've got tons of those. What about high fructose corn syrup? 2,000 articles link high fructose corn syrup and fatty liver disease. Fatty liver disease raises your insulin and your triglycerides. It's inflammatory. So again, we have more issues with our health and inflammation from those chemical stressors. What about medications? We talked about the large amount of American adults that are, even kids, that are on prescription drugs on a regular basis. Again, those can be chemical stressors on our system. Then, of course, we've got emotional stress. There's no shortage of that. And honestly, there never will be. There's always going to be stress in life. But when we have an abundance of stressors, we have a bunch of unnecessary stressors, it really bogs down our system. And it is the most potent thing to throw off our entire body chemistry and just regulate our hormones. So let's say you're having those symptoms. Let's say you're having those problems and you're super fatigued and you're having these issues. So you go to the doctor and you complain of fatigue and all the symptoms. And maybe they do some tests. Let's talk about why sometimes you can have a test done and still not get an answer. So one thing is testosterone. Testosterone is kind of a buzzword. Lots of people are getting their testosterone checked, even women, right? Well, let's say you go to your healthcare provider and you're fatigued and you're waking up in the middle of the night. You have low libido, you're irritable. So they check your hormones. And on your testosterone, you look at your lab paper and it says the range is anywhere from 2 to 65. That seems a little suspicious, right? That's kind of seems like a wide range, doesn't it? Well, let's say your testosterone is at a 5. So they say, oh, well, it's in the range. So it's not that. You're just fatigued. Maybe you're depressed, or maybe you're under a lot of stress, or maybe you're just getting older, right? So they don't really have an answer for you. But where do you want your testosterone to be? That's what the question should be. So those ranges that they print on the lab paper, especially when it comes to our hormones, are not necessarily values that are normal or that are optimal. They're not what we call functional lab ranges. They are actually reference ranges, which mostly are created by the lab so that they can maintain quality controls on their equipment that they use to run the labs. So a reference range is going to be very, very different from a person's or a human's optimal range, a range where we know they're going to be functioning optimally. So where do you want your testosterone if you're a woman? Generally, it depends on the lab and what technology they're using to run your blood work, but generally somewhere between a 35 or a 65, sometimes a little higher. So we know that if your levels are in that range, you're much less likely to have symptoms of low testosterone. So let's say they knock the testosterone off the list. Oh, it's a 5, it's in the range, but you're super tired, you're gaining weight. So they say, okay, well, we'll go ahead and check your cortisol level. So they check your cortisol. And normally when you check blood, it's in the morning. So they do a one-time test in the morning, and it's that blue dot, that first blue dot you see there. So the cortisol should be along the red line, okay? But if they only do a one spot test, which is what insurance is going to cover. Why? Because insurance is looking for disease. If you've got a disease of your adrenal glands, meaning you have Cushing's disease or you've got Addison's disease, then doing a one-time screening test of your cortisol in the morning is adequate. And so if it's normal, then you don't have Addison's, you don't have Cushing's, insurance isn't going to cover anything else. But had your cortisol been checked properly, since cortisol normally changes its level throughout the day, it's higher in the morning so that you feel bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready for your day, and it's lower in the evening so you can sleep. Had we checked it 4 times, this is what we would have seen. Maybe it's normal first thing in the morning, but then it's crashing down. Well, no wonder you're having trouble with your energy. No wonder you're having brain fog, because cortisol is low and you wake up and it's already on that downside. You're going to feel tired all day. So we've got to do the right tests and we've got to interpret them the right way. Why? Because when we're dealing with things like fatigue and mood and sleep and weight, there's so many different things that it actually could be. So we've got to do the right tests and we've got to interpret them the right way so we can figure out, is it something with the thyroid? Is it something with your blood sugar metabolism? Is it something with the stress or your hormones? Is it more than one issue? That's how we dig down and really get to the root issue of what's going on. So again, we focus on those 5 pillars in functional medicine and we look at each of them and we put all of them in line regardless of what the underlying problem is. Because if these functional pillars are all solid, your health is going to improve from that point. So digestion and detoxification is critical. No, I don't mean go buy some crazy detox tea from the supermarket and be on the toilet all day. Absolutely not. When I talk about detoxification, I'm talking about your body's normal process to clear out all of those chemicals and toxins that we have been exposed to on a daily basis, right? So your body has to detoxify normally and your digestion has to be intact, meaning you have to be able to digest your food. You can't harbor a bunch of inflammation in the digestive tract. So your digestive tract is actually responsible for proper use of your hormones. It's responsible for clearing out excess hormone. 80% of your immune system is actually housed in the digestive tract. And then of course, you got to think about too, your brain chemicals. most of your brain chemicals are actually produced in the digestive tract. So if every time you eat, you get some kind of symptom, you get acid reflux, you get bloating, you have IBS, you have any kind of a chronic or constant digestive inflammation that's going on, it's going to affect the rest of your health. It's critical that this digestion and detoxification be intact. Why else? Well, because what we eat is important, right? I think we can all agree that the fuel we put into our body is important. But if you're not digesting the food, you could put the best food in, and if something is wrong in the digestion or the detoxification, you're not going to get the most benefit out of that food. So we've got to have that also. We've got to make sure, because what we're putting in are the things that's going to nourish our tissues. It's going to be all the cofactors needed for all the processes in the body, creating hormone, eliminating hormone. A lot of those things have a lot to do with nutrition. So that's another critical foundational point. Fitness, we've got to be able to move. We've got to stay mobile. That helps us detoxify. But guess what? It keeps us strong as we get older. It keeps our metabolic rate up. We have to be able to put lean muscle, lean tissue on our body, and we have to be able to maintain it. If we are losing muscle as we age, that is a sign of hormone imbalance. We are not supposed to have hormone imbalance. We are designed to continue to make hormones after menopause women and after andropause for men. So if we start to have those issues, we know there's a hormone imbalance problem, and it's going to be critical that we reverse that and we get muscle on our bodies. Now, a lot of times people will tell me, I don't have time to work out. I can't go to the gym for 2 hours a day. Well, if your primary goal needs to be putting muscle mass on your body and maintaining muscle mass. And that can be done in as little as 25 to 35 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, if you're doing it properly. So you just have to have the right information and put those things together. Your hormones, your chemistry, another very important pillar. So if you've got these check engine lights, something is wrong there. Something is out of balance. Things like night sweats, hot flashes, irritability. Men and women can have these issues. Weight gain, brain fog. What was that word? Why did I walk into this room? All of those things are signs that your hormones are out of balance. The weight gain specifically can be associated with hormones too. So for example, if your estrogen is really high, or you have a problem with your estrogen, you tend to store fat in the hips and the thighs. If it's a cortisol problem, you will tend to store belly fat. If you have a thyroid problem, thyroid hormones are out of whack, you will tend to gain weight generalized over the entire body and have a really tough time losing weight. And then, of course, the liver, if you have imbalances there, insulin is high and those kinds of hormones, then you're actually going to store fat on the inside of the abdominal wall. And that's where you have that firm, round belly where the fat is on the inside. It's very, very dangerous, very bad for you as far as long-term health goes. But these are some of the clues also that the hormones are out of balance. Lastly, mentorship. So I've thrown a lot of information at you. I've told you about all of these pillars. We can't forget the mentor. So, we talk about the healthcare system and we talk about our healthcare providers and how they just don't have enough time to spend with us, and they're operating in the system where they have to manage disease. I don't believe that our healthcare providers don't want to help us. Absolutely, they do. Nobody goes to school that long, spends that much time and that much money on schooling to get out and not really want to help people. So I do believe they want to help you. I just believe their hands are tied. Their hands are tied in the system. So when insurance is watching and they're looking at everything and they only pay you based on certain criteria, you have to follow their rules. You can't necessarily do what that individual patient needs. Not only that, but does anybody know the average amount of time that a doctor spends with you in your office visit? The average amount of time in the United States is actually 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Take it from me. I've been in the field 20 years. 7 minutes is not enough time to go through all of these pillars with you and to find out where the underlying issue is. 7 minutes is not enough time, but 7 minutes is the perfect amount of time to ask you what your symptoms are, find out what label you need, what box you fit into, what ICD-10 code, and then what medication, what does insurance cover for that code. 7 minutes is the perfect amount of time for that. So mentorship, we've got to have that. We have to have someone that can help us put this together, help us get to those underlying issues and figure things out. We would love our healthcare providers to do that, but like I said, their hands are tied. So just like if you were going to fly a plane, you can't just read a book, you can't just Google it, right? You've got to have a whole curriculum. You have to have a whole understanding exactly of what's going on. So you might have video simulation training, you'll have classroom time, you'll have instructors, you'll have co-pilots, you'll have a whole curriculum of things. And then at the end, you'll fly on your own when you're ready, correct? Our health is really the same. We need to look at it the same way. We all went to school for different reasons. We may have accountants and lawyers and customer service agents and retailers and all kinds of things, but we need that expertise. We need that person that knows about the health and the human body and how to improve health. So that's where the mentorship comes in. So what is it that we do at the Institute for Peak Health? We put all those pillars together. So I hope that this explains to you also why, if you have a symptom, like say you can't lose weight, say you're overweight, say your doctor told you, hey, you need to lose weight because your blood pressure is creeping up and your cholesterol is creeping up, your blood sugar is creeping up, so you need to lose 30 pounds. So maybe you go and you do a weight loss program, right? You do Weight Watchers, you do Herbalife, you do Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem, Medifast, whatever, like you name it. We've all tried it, or we at least know someone that has. And what ends up happening? We may follow that diet perfectly to a T, 100%, and we lose 2 pounds. And we've got to lose 20 or 30, right? And then what happens? We get discouraged and we give up and we figure, hey, I could have lost 2 pounds whether I ate donuts or not. What was the point of changing my diet, right? I didn't achieve the goal that I wanted to. Or maybe you do it with fitness. Maybe you're like, okay, I haven't been exercising. I need to lose 30 pounds. So I'm going to go to CrossFit and I'm going to be there every single day. And I'm going to work out like crazy. And you don't get the results. Again, you don't lose those 30 pounds. And then you get discouraged and you give up. Why? It's because we didn't look at all the pillars. We didn't make sure that everything was working properly. We didn't make sure that you were digesting and detoxifying properly. We didn't make sure that the hormones were in balance. We didn't put it all together for you in a system that fits together, that makes sense, so we don't leave any pieces out. So I hope that explains that it's not your fault, that maybe you've tried to get your health in order on your own and you weren't successful, but there's a lot of moving pieces, and having that mentor to help you put it together is what makes all the difference. So, can you change the future of your health? I hope all of you, after watching this webinar, can say, yes, absolutely, you have the power. You are empowered to do it. How do we do it? Well, we've got to order the correct tests. We have to interpret them the right way. We have to determine the true underlying cause so we can address that and not spend time just up here, trying to band-aid symptoms. That's not how you're going to get better. We have to correct the dysfunction and also not just alter the labs or your symptoms with drugs. So don't just take the pill that lowers the blood pressure. Don't just take the pill that makes you sleep at night. Don't just take the pill that makes you feel more awake in the morning. No, we have to actually deal with that underlying issue so that we can get better. Address the body as a whole using a systematic approach and, of course, the mentoring so that we know that it's put together for us and we have that blueprint. This is what I need to do. ABC, 1, 2, 3, it's laid out, you understand, you learn it, and then you can always have that information with you for the rest of your life to continue to live your life in good health. So what do we have to do? Well, we've got to stop procrastinating. Again, it's up to us. The healthcare system is not here to improve our health. It's here to manage our chronic disease. It's here for the big catastrophes. So we have to take it upon ourselves to decide we need to get on a different path. So if you're that person that's like, okay, well, someday I'll do it, or Monday I will do it, I'm here to tell you the time is now. And if COVID-19 weren't around, I mean, come on, that is the biggest wake-up call ever, at least in my lifetime, that chronic disease is killing us in this country. So we have to just stand up and decide and look at where we want to be in our life, look at what our destination in life is going to be and what we want it to be, and work on getting there. Make that choice today to change your life forever. So that brings me to the end of the webinar, guys. I do want to remind you that we are offering a free 15-minute discovery call. You can click the sign up now button, and that'll take you directly to where you can choose the date and the time that works best for you. And on the call, I'm going to talk to you. We are going to talk about what you're going through. What concerns do you have? What goals do you have? How have you tried to address your concerns in the past? And then if I feel that what we do here at the Institute for Peak Health can help you, then I will tell you a little bit about what we do here and how we can help. And then I'll let you decide if that sounds like the right approach for you. So in order to book, just click that button on your screen. You can also text or call us. That is an actual picture of Valerie on the phone. So she's actually there. She can take your text or your call if you prefer to schedule that way. Or you can just click the button and do it automatically, whatever works for you. But I really do encourage you guys to take advantage of that opportunity. A couple of questions, I'll go over common questions that we get. Number one is, where are you located? So yes, we're located in San Antonio, Texas. We are at Blanco and 1604, and we share a large building with VitalLife, our sister company, VitalLife Wellness Center. So we do have a brick and mortar. If you are in the area and you would like to come and see us in person, you absolutely can. However, we are fully able to take care of you virtually as well. We actually have many patients that are outside of Texas that we still help and we still work with. So we're fully able to do everything virtually. So don't let your proximity deter you from getting that help that you need. Number two question I get very often is it affordable? Does insurance cover it? No, insurance does not cover what we do, right? So I am not interested in managing your chronic disease. I am interested in taking your health to the next level. So insurance doesn't cover what we do, but I can tell you that it's affordable. We work with people from all walks of life. We've had college students, we've had single income families, retirees, all work with us. So I will tell you that in the case that maybe there's some tests or some studies that you need, it might be possible to use your insurance for those, depending on what they are and what your coverage is like. If you have a healthcare spending account, those kinds of things, yes, it's possible to use those things in some cases, but all of those things we would talk to you about at your first consultation. So you would know exactly what that would mean for you at that point. Because it's going to be very different for everyone. Not everyone is going to need the same services or the same guidance from us. The last question I commonly get is, what about the diet? Is it crazy? Do I have to run 1,000 miles a day? Absolutely not. I will tell you that all of our interventions are not anything that I personally haven't done or that thousands of our other clients haven't done successfully. So the only way that we're going to get this to work is if we have interventions that can be adopted into virtually any life circumstance. So we will work with you on those things. Our interventions have to be they have to be something you can do. So nothing crazy here. We just help you through and you get our support 100%. So that brings me to the end of the webinar. I thank you guys so much again for tuning in. I can't wait to talk to you on that discovery call. And I do encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity because we all deserve the opportunity to live our lives in the very best health. Thank you again for tuning in and have a good rest of your day.